when we do a panel discussion with CIOs, it's an audience of CIOs itself, or IT leaders or IT heads. But this time it's slightly different, and I think, as I said right at the beginning, the idea of doing something like this, where we invite you to talk to startups, really came from a roundtable that we hosted with Azhar Saab a couple of months ago, where he said we want to learn from startups, we want to teach them what we've learned in our experience, right? So starting off, because all of you are in your own capacity leading innovation or disrupt or digital transformation within your large enterprises. We can start with you, sir, and then go one by one. What is it that how have you seen this space evolve? And then we'll talk about the startup collaboration bit as well.
In BSO, we were doing things we had adopted from MNC. So people in Pakistan think that MNCs were the best. So we thought that it's not the same anymore. And in thinking by yourself, what you can bring out changes. So we thought we should think differently and do some changes now. So what we thought was that there were areas that were done typically they were done in the same manner repeatedly, and they were menial jobs. So we first identified those menial jobs that could be eliminated by technology, and that could be done automatically. So first thought we thought was bring in those jobs that the customer or the vendor can do it himself. So we brought in online ordering, and supplier can fetch we brought in Ariba. That was another thought. So we eliminated, we improved the governance, and that led to we don't need to make orders we don't need to keep staff that interacts with our customers or vendors anymore. So it brought out governance also. Then we thought about the terminals that we have, oil terminals. Over there are many decisions that terminal manager takes on his own. So we thought that these decisions should be based on data, and the data should take the decision instead of it. Which inventory should flow out, which should be first in, first out in the tank, which inventory should come in. So all those decisions should be made by data, not the person that is handling it. So we brought those areas, and we are now moving towards unmanned terminals also, where there will be no people, only the tank lorry would come in and we go out and we fill it. All the decisions would be taken automatically by the technology. Similarly, the forecasting operator, we would install different IoT devices at our pumps, so that we can predict which hour is more rush, how much time it's taking to fuel in a motorcycle, how should be the queue managed. So with those learning, we created a separate queue for the motorcycles, because the motorcycles are the main buyers of our products. So all those decisions started coming from the data. Now we at BSO, some people don't know that the most money that is exchanged every day is through BSO retail outlets. Any largest bank doesn't exchange that much of money that we exchange on our forecourt. So we brought in a fintech. We are working on a fintech. We think that our fintech, if that money comes in and it exchanges through our fintech, we can grow it some time afterwards to a digital bank also. So I'm also a board member of that fintech. So we are thinking, when I was doing interviews with those CEOs that we were trying to hire, the question we used to ask is, how would you make money? So people from Inu know that the biggest part in an EMI license is how to make money. So the question I used to ask them is, how would you make money? Because the transaction doesn't give you, doing a transaction doesn't give money in Pakistan. So that was the challenge. So we are thinking in those terms, if you can see that in a typical petrol pump, there's a cashier who holds lots of cash. So what we're thinking that why is holding that much cash? This cash should move around and will make money. So that's the ideas that we're thinking in bringing in. I can give you another example also. We've got thousands of customers, retail customers, and some of them give advance money, and some are that have liquidity problems. So if the regulator allows us, we can expand the blockchain business, and they can know that he's got excess money, he can borrow it to someone. So those ideas, like some ideas, like it would take time because of the regulations and like this, but we are moving towards it.
Yeah, but who would have thought that PSO would be working on a fintech, right? So I think that's really the intention behind it. As a I'd add on a little bit to that, the same question, but how do you identify and prioritize, areas of innovation? Because that's something that all of you now need to, in addition to the CIO role, you now also need to lead innovation within your organizations.
Yeah, I really loved the conversation in the previous panel. It was a very interesting dialogue, and I thought it can, they were highlighting some key issues. I mean, Saad was saying we don't need to do innovation here. You can learn from others, and I really believe that there's so much innovation has already happened in the world. Why can't we just copy that? And once we bring all of that in, then maybe we can do new things as well. So I think that was the thought which in this building and NIC we need to think about a bit more. The question really is that in enterprises, also in big enterprises, money for innovation or any technology intervention is still limited. You have a lot of money, but it's focused on areas where business feel that it will bring more money back. And still, unfortunately, innovation, technology, and all these are being looked at as a cost instead of investment, even in the bigger enterprises. So I feel that prioritization is key. So your question, how to prioritize, I think there are 2-3 areas. Normally technology is brought in, or innovation is brought in to bring productivity, to bring more efficiency, or bring customer experience or employee experience, things like that. So I think the first thing where priority goes is the customer, of course. Moin is talking about so much they are doing at PSO. We thought that innovation should start from customer and at customer. So in one of our flagship interventions we did is an application called Agro Hamsafar. Hamsafar is an application which has done transactions more than any other e-commerce platform in Pakistan in terms of volume handled through it. So that intervention really helped both business as well as the end customer. Similarly, recently that Hamsafar was targeted as a B2B app where our dealers who buy bulk of the fertilizers can now interact with Agro directly through an app. And in terms of payments, we have integrated with the 5 largest banks directly, so that the customer can do direct in-app instant payments from their bank account to Agro's account. So that's something which has really helped the ecosystem. The second example, where now we're focusing on the end customer rather than B2B, we have created a platform called Guide, where farmers can then use our app, interact with Agro, buy any number of products. Not only that, but also in addition to that, we have facility where they can do crop planning. They can ask for additional agri services, which are available through the app, free of cost to farmers. And we are thinking about creating this ecosystem where, starting from the lenders up to the buyers of the agri product, they can all come on this platform. So I think this is some of the innovation or technology interventions which we have done in the customer space. But I mean, of course, we can talk a lot about in the efficiency space where we have brought in technology interventions at plants and many other areas.
So for Ahsan and Ahsan, my question to you will be a little bit of an add-on on what are some areas for large enterprises to collaborate with startups, right? A lot of the disruption or innovative measures that are taken by large organizations, we've seen examples of that. But if you can add on, what are some areas where you are, as a large enterprise, open to that collaboration or bringing in the disruptive startups?
Okay. What I see with the major startups, like most of the startups are running after the buzzwords. Like everyone is coming with the AI solution. Okay, and there's another real, I mean, their role model might be like US, Europe, UK, and they are coming with the solution that is being used in US, UK, Europe, and other first world countries. But in reality, our challenges are quite different. In my perspective, I might be completely wrong, but yeah, it varies depending on the organization to organization and different infrastructure. But yes, we have a lot of offers from different startups like हम AI का ये मॉडल आपको इंट्रोड्यूस कर देंगे, आपसे ये प्रॉब्लम मिलेगा, बट हमारे जो बेसिक चैलेंजेस हैं, जैसे उन्होंने भी बोला था कि हम अभी शायद उस स्टेज पे नहीं हैं.
So अगर मैं आपको पूछूं कि किस तरह के बेसिक चैलेंजेस large enterprises
coming on. You know, like if I give you example of my organization that is more than 78 companies, international districts limited. We have 800,000, more than 800,000 capacity, okay, in terms of production. पुरानी कंपनी है. जब मैंने कंपनी ज्वाइन की तो उस टाइम पे during my orientation, I met people who has been working from the last 30 years, 35 years. जो कि बहुत अच्छी चीज़ थी, क्या इतना अच्छा रिटेंशन है. But my challenge was, और मेरा थोड़ा सा fear बढ़ता जा रहा था, that's mean कि somewhere around 70s और 80s में इन्होंने graduate करके और कंपनी ज्वाइन की और फिर उसके बाद ये किया है. Are they really tech savvy और वो जो change acceptance है, ये सारी चीजें कर पाएंगे? Because my target was to bring the change. Okay, तो वहाँ पे हमारे processes इतने lengthy कि 13 or 14 signatures on a single paper of document. Okay, तो अगर मैं जब उसको digitalization की हम बात करते हैं for paperless environment, ठीक है, तो उसी को कहते हैं कि जिसको ट्रांसफॉर्म कर दें, बट अप्रूवल इतने ही होंगे. तो ये डिजिटलाइजेशन तो नहीं है. This is only we can digitize that paper only. Otherwise, we are not going to reduce any process, any time और जो भी कुछ है. There is no agility. हम lean processes की बात करते हैं कि lean processes को होना चाहिए, but हमारे challenges पहले तो ये ठीक है. और I really appreciate के startups में जो सारी चीजें हैं, but इस टाइप के जो basic ground level के, क्योंकि हमारे पास एक और चीज literacy. Literacy, हम लोग अपने workers को, हम बहुत सारी organizations में हम लोग new skill तो hire कर लेंगे. We do not invest on upskilling and reskilling of existing workers. अच्छा, नया बंदा आएगा definitely बिल्कुल opportunities देनी चाहिए, बिल्कुल देनी चाहिए, वो भी provide करना चाहिए. But उससे क्या होगा? उसका एक area तो बहुत strong होगा, but वो जो experience और knowledge है, ठीक है, वो AI cannot provide. तो वो इसमें जो सबसे बड़ा जो है मेरे हिसाब से AI and human AI collaboration, ये बहुत important है. और अगर हम किसी को कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी को अडॉप्ट या इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं ये सोच के ये होता है कि यार ये जो है मेरी इतनी मैनपावर कम है, ये पर्पस नहीं था ये था कि हर चीज सिस्टम ड्रिवन हो, पीपल ड्रिवन नहीं। अब वो शायद ये हमने ये सब मकसद निकाल लिया कि यार पीपल तो एलिमिनेट ही हो जाएंगे और हर चीज सिस्टम कर रहा हो, ऐसा नहीं है। उस सिस्टम को भी खुद ऑपरेट करें, सिस्टम विल हेल्प अस, ठीक है, फॉर क्विक डिसीजन मेकिंग और इन सारी चीजें। सेकंड चीज ये कि डिजिटलाइजेशन की उसकी हमें ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लेवल पे, गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे इसकी इस अवेयरनेस की, टेक्नोलॉजी की, उनको अप स्किलिंग, रीस्किलिंग के लिए हमें जो है डेफिनेटली उसमें इन्वेस्ट भी करना चाहिए, टाइम भी लगाना चाहिए। सिंह के अजहर साहब ने इनके काफ़ी सारे इनिशिएटिव्स हैं और ये इनके इनिशिएटिव्स भी इसीलिए कि इनकी जो एक्सेप्टेंस है, चेंज मैनेजमेंट है, अगर वो ग्राउंड लेवल तक अगर उसकी एक्सेप्टेंस आएगी तो कोई भी आपका प्रोजेक्ट जो है वो सक्सेसफुल होगा, अदरवाइज वो फ्लॉप हो जाएगा। ये किसी भी टर्मिनल पे बैठा हुआ क्लर्क आपके किसी भी सिस्टम को फेल कर देगा until unless उसकी ऑनरशिप है। So that's my
Thank you. So Ahsan, we will move on to you on what are some areas of collaboration that organizations like yours can look at or look towards NIC or the various startups that are present.
I think as far as जो start off with, first we need to understand what is the mechanism through which we shortlist who we want to work with as large enterprises. A lot of times, the bid qualification part of large enterprises restrict a lot of startups to enter or work with large companies.
Yes, so the requirement usually is which other large company have you already worked with?
The idea is that the processes are designed in such a way that they are risk averse. We don't want to experiment with something, and if there is a failure, the repercussion is going to be from the CIO or the people who have shortlisted or giving chance to a startup to come over and do something. So first of all, to start off with that collaboration, we need to come up with a plan on how we should be comfortable failing. We should first be very comfortable in trying something new and probably failing it once, failing it twice, and then ultimately learn how to do it. So the only place where large enterprises can actually engage with startups is where there is a low risk and no direct impact on results. So there are a lot of innovation space there, for example, for RTA. There's a process that is going on currently. If the project fails, probably we will lose a bit of money that we have invested in the project, but still the system will still go on. There will be no direct impact on the operations of the business. So we have to identify places where there is a low impact, but it's a high potential in case we innovate in particular area. Being RTA one, chatbots is one area where we can probably see and collaborate with the startups. Then there are a lot of integrations that are possible among different companies and payment gateways and all that. So that is one area where we can collaborate. So all in all, it's a touchstone to have a collaboration with a startup is that it should be an area where there is a low risk potential. But once you innovate and you come up with a solution in that particular area, the upside or the gain should be higher. Only in those areas, large corporate might engage with a startup. Very straightforward, and not for the
So Ahsan, my question to you is, how can large enterprises support and enable these startups? So of course, some areas have been identified. If you'd like to add on to that, but also enabling them to grow, scale, and then experiment, right?
I think this collaboration between startups and large enterprises is very important for both, not only for the startups but also for the enterprises. We have collaborated with a few, and how we, Atif is right that all the bidding processes have strict criteria, and that's those criteria are set up because companies do not want to take risks on companies which they feel that may not be able to sustain because these are customer products or long-term. Saad bhai, please, there's a lot of distraction. I know you've got a lot to say, but distracting everyone. So what I'm saying is that the companies are risk averse because they feel that if I am banking on a supplier who's giving me, for example, a product which I am rolling out for my customers, the company should be able to sustain that. So I think how we have cracked that code is that we have started. I'll give you an example. There's a startup which works in AI area. So we said, okay, we work with you. Let's do a pilot. Let's take one area. We said, let's look at the engineering, our plant floor, and look at there are manuals. The volume of manuals is in millions of documents. Let's try and put them into an AI chatbot. And whenever there is an issue and whenever engineers want to access that, the chatbot should be able to answer that quickly. We started a POC with a startup. They worked with us for 3-4 months. There was a lot of back and forth and learning. And then we thought that, well, there is something happening here. And now that POC, that startup is now developing that engineering chatbot or agent for us, which will be deployed at the biggest plant Agro has. Right. So this is how I think we can work with startups. Another startup where we worked with was to give them an opportunity to create an application, a small application, and see how they work with us and how our experience is with them. And then, of course, if they understand, it's also for the startup to understand the large enterprise ecosystem. It's also a learning process for them, because once they come in, they have to collaborate not only with the technology team but the business teams also to understand how the business works, so that those requirements can be incorporated. So I think I don't want to discourage the startups. The way to move forward is that try and get a foot in. It will really help you in terms of looking at real world problems and give you the sustainability you need for your organization, and also for us to lose that strict criteria, which now companies are doing, because when they work closely with the startup, they bring new skills which are needed to transform the legacy companies.
So this is my last question. Large enterprises, I would assume, or one would assume, that the risk appetite should be larger, because of course you have the bandwidth or the resources to take that on, right? And when large enterprises are saying कि हम risk averse हैं, इसलिए हम startups के साथ नहीं काम कर सकते, या we cannot give you the first million, right? So one part of the question is
because the impact is huge. There's an app which a startup has developed, which is now rolled out across the country. Every farmer has it. Now that startup is no more after a year. Who's going to maintain or sustain that app?
Yeah.
Right? So its impact is huge.
Yeah. And the other side of the question is also, so for example, now PSO is running their own fintech, for example. There are already some fintechs that are running. Why couldn't we look at a collaboration instead of, so you also talked about certain applications that you've developed in-house, and sometimes of course it makes more sense because you have to have it make business sense as well. So on the flip side, why aren't we looking at collaborations instead of building our own internally?
Before that, sir, I would like to give another example, interesting one. यहाँ पे फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन की साथ में बात की थी, तो हमने एक नई स्टार्ट की थी कि हमने जो हेल्थ सर्विसेज की इंक्लूजन की, हम लोग CSR में बहुत अच्छा खासा स्पेंड करते हैं CSR। तो हमारे जो चेयरमैन थे उन्होंने कहा कि तुम ऐसा करें कि AI को लेके आए और इससे जो है ना हेल्थ सर्विसेज की इंक्लूजन बढ़ाएं। तो हम लोग जनरली डोनेशन दे रहे होते हैं हॉस्पिटल वगैरह को, तो हमने एक मॉडल देखा, हमने देखा कि OPD पे अगर आप किसी भी जिना में जाएं या इंडस में जाएं तो इतनी बड़ी लाइन होती है, और वो सब जो होते हैं खड़े होते हैं, और एक डॉक्टर को एक्सेस करने के लिए किसी को 2 या 3 घंटे लग जाते हैं। तो हमने डिफरेंट, आजकल हम लोग वी आर लुकिंग फॉर कंपनी, एक आपने शेयर कहानी वगैरह के बारे में भी सुना होगा, तो वी आर लुकिंग फॉर दोज काइंड्स ऑफ डॉक्टर्स इनोवेशन। वो क्या करेंगे, उन्होंने हमें डिफरेंट डेमोंस्ट्रेशन दिखाए हैं, वी आर आस्किंग देम वी आर रेडी टू इन्वेस्ट यू। वो करेंगे ये कि जो फर्स्ट टाइम आता है, आप देखते हैं कि नर्स आप आते हैं, वो टेस्ट कराते हैं, वो करते हैं, तो वो उसके लिए हमने उनसे कहा कि आप क्योस लगा दें, ठीक है, तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली जाएगा, उसका शुगर लेगा, ब्लड प्रेशर लेगा, इवन ECG भी 3 पॉइंट्स का ले लेगा, और ये ऑटोमेटिकली टेस्ट उसके मेडिकल रिकॉर्ड में रह रहे होंगे। फिर जो है AI एजेंट क्या करेगा कि उसकी पास हिस्ट्री देखेगा, बाकी देखेगा, और उसके बाद एक रिकमेंडेशन डॉक्टर को तो हमने जितनी भी डॉक्टर्स को बोला कि आप जितनी भी हम लोग ये कोलैबोरेशन से हम कर रहे थे स्टार्टअप से कि आप ऐसा सिस्टम लाएं इसमें एआई का काम हो जाए और कोई काम एआई करे, एआई एजेंट करे और इसमें ऐड ऑन करे। लेकिन यहाँ हमने देखा कि पाकिस्तान में उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, डॉक्टर का होना ज़रूरी है, डॉक्टर से ज़रूर बात करेगा पेशेंट, उसके बाद करेगा। ये अबाउट हमने कोई 16 या 20 ऐसे स्टार्टअप्स देखे जिन्होंने एंड में यही हमसे कहा कि डॉक्टर जो है ना नहीं हट सकता इसमें से, देयर बी अ डॉक्टर एट द एंड, चाहे आप ऑटोमेटिकली रिजल्ट आए हैं, आप गूगल की भी आपने देखी है भी बहुत अच्छी हैं और उस पर हमने उनको कहा कि नहीं आप करें। तो नाउ वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स, हमने कहा ठीक है, लेकिन इससे उसके बाद हमने कहा एक LLM बनेगा इससे, उसके बाद वो उसमें कम से कम 10 मिलियन जो है पेशेंट्स का होना चाहिए, तो एक आध लाख अच्छा लार्ज LLM बन जाए तो उसके बाद जो है ये सही डिसीजन लेगा। लेकिन यहाँ पे हमने देखा कि ड्रैफ्ट वगैरह हैं, अथॉरिटीज़ हैं, लेकिन कोई ऐसी कोई हुआ नहीं है कि हो जाए। अच्छा, अच्छी बात पाकिस्तान में ये ऐसी होती है जैसे कही गई पहले भी, यहाँ कुछ है नहीं तो अच्छा है कि जल्दी हो जाएगा। तो अभी ड्रैफ्ट वगैरह कोई सोच नहीं रहा है, कुछ नहीं हो रहा कि AI कैसे होगा। अच्छा, मैं ये जो हेल्थ सर्विस है ये मेरे ख्याल से 10 या 12 या 15% पॉपुलेशन को अभी मिलती हैं, आपकी जो फॉर्मल सर्विसेज हैं हेल्थ को, पूरा मुल्क जो है 15 या 20 या 25% मिलती है। इसमें जो है ना, अगर इसमें मौका दे दिया जाए और थोड़ा ड्रैफ्ट या ये दे दें कि भाई AI सर्विसेज होंगी, उसके बाद एंड में डॉक्टर मिल रहे हैं, लेकिन अगर जनरली अगर कोई इसको फॉर्मलाइज कर दें, अलाउ कर दें, तो ये बहुत अच्छा एरिया है। अच्छा, इसमें फिर कोलैबोरेशन भी होगी, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी की भी कोलैबोरेशन होगी, उसके बाद हॉस्पिटल्स की भी कोलैबोरेशन होगी। और ये जो हमारा जो लार्ज स्केल पे आपने देखा है कि जिना या बड़े बड़े हॉस्पिटल में जाते हैं, घंटों लग जाते हैं कि सिर्फ आपको एक रीच टू अ डॉक्टर, ये सर्विस आपको एट द होम ऑन योर जो है आपको डिजिटली या ऑन योर फोन आप एक्सेस कर सकते हो डॉक्टर्स को, और आप 80% या 90% जो है ऑटोमेटिक फॉलोअप भी हो जाएगा, मेडिकल हिस्ट्री भी मेंटेन होगी। तो उस पर हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन इट्स टेकन अस अबाउट 3 or 4 months, लेकिन कोई भी हमें अभी तक ऐसा स्टार्टअप नहीं मिला जिससे ये जो आइडिया है जो आगे पिच हो जाए। अच्छा, दूसरा जो आपने क्वेश्चन किया था कि व्हाई कुडंट वी हैव कोलैबोरेशन, देखिए वही जैसे असन ने बात की ना, तो एक वो लेवल ऑफ रिस्क जो होता है ना, वो थोड़ा सा लग रहा होता है कि हो जाए, लेकिन कोलैबोरेट, लेकिन हम लोगों ने एक स्टार्टअप्स के लिए हमने एक और कंपनी की थर्ड जिसमें वो स्टार्टअप्स के लिए फंडिंग करेगी और वो करेगी। तो व्हाट वी हैव डन इज कि वो दैट सेपरेट कंपनी ऑफ फॉरगेटिंग, क्योंकि मैं उसका पार्ट नहीं हूँ, लेकिन उसमें ये है कि दे आर फंडिंग द स्टार्टअप्स, कोई इनोवेटिव आइडिया लेके उसको करें, उसको फंड करेंगे और उसको करेंगे। आई थिंक इट्स इनिशियली वी हैव सेट अ फंड ऑन इट एंड वी आर लुकिंग फॉर स्टार्टअप्स फॉर सक्सेसफुल आइडियाज हु विल bring in and we'll collaborate with them. So it's a separate company, the third vertical that we'll create in this sense. So it would be funding ideas. Those ideas would be presented once it's formalized. I may be able to give you what's being done on that.
Just on collaboration, I think पहले भी mention किया गया, I think collaboration is the key. If startups want to succeed, they should be looking at collaboration. मैं एक example just wanted to share. Angro has a partner called Royal Vopak, which is based in Holland. What they have done is that they have created a company like you're saying called Vopak Ventures. Now what Vopak Ventures does is they look at the startups and say which startup is solving real world problems, or they say these are 10 problems we have, is there any startup wants to solve these problems, and then collaborate. They are funding these startups in a way that acquiring 10%, 20% share in each startup, and then having some sort of say in terms of how they do their work, and giving them that experience which they need in terms of working with bigger enterprises. I think this is amazing, which DXO is thinking, maybe large enterprises like.
And we are looking at those examples. For example, there are certain banks that have now done innovation drives, and they're also looking at innovation challenges where they give project challenges based on their own organizations. I think K Electric does it, and a couple of other large organizations also.